What is up, good people? Jungle Link here, hope you're doing well. Before we get into the main topic of this video, I wanted to show you this. This is this very old Onan generator. And my good friend Greg, he lived up in Crest in 2003. That's this mountain here in San Diego. And we had the '03 wildfires. I mean, they were massive, and most of his neighbors, their homes burned down, but their home was safe. And during that time, they were without power for about 3 weeks, and this old generator powered his home during that time frame. And from '03, those 3 weeks they used this thing for, it sat in his yard. No one touched the thing. It hasn't even run. And he sold the house. He's like, hey, do you want the generator? And I'm like, sure, I'll take it. I get the thing home. I mean, I was banging my head against the wall trying to get this thing to run. It wouldn't start up at all. And so what I did is I took some pictures from all different angles and I uploaded them in GPT-4o, and I described what I was trying to do, get it running again after 20 years. I did some troubleshooting, and I don't know, after about 10 minutes, look at that. All of a sudden, the thing fired off. Man, artificial intelligence is amazing. Now, this thing has a lot of work to be done before I would rely on it to run my house. It's not really ready for that at this point in time. But before I really got into it, I wanted to confirm that it runs, and it runs quite well. There's a lot of interesting use cases for AI as they keep getting better and better and better. And, I think you'll find if you take pictures and upload them in there, it can guide you through quite a few problems. It's nice having a handy artificial intelligence assistant to be a second mind on a project. All right, so this video here, it is the head of Coinbase networks, I believe, and Mike Novogratz, and they're talking about Base. Now, I know most of my audience, they don't like Coinbase, and they darn sure don't like Ethereum. So why am I sharing this with you? I think this is very illustrative of the future. And it's not just going to be for Ethereum, it's going to be chains like XRP and all of them, where you have entities that are building businesses on chain. And in this case, it's on a layer 2. For XRP, it could be on a side chain. Other chains, it might be directly on the mainnet. Doesn't really matter, but this is a huge enterprise, and this is just kind of the first real example of this. But this is exciting because now we are launching real businesses that are scalable, and you can make a lot of money. And Coinbase has Base. You have BlackRock. They are going to launch a full-on stock exchange that's tokenized and runs on-chain, probably on their own Ethereum Layer 2. And again, a lot of people are going to be doing this. And so even if you don't like Ethereum or you hate Coinbase, I wouldn't worry too much about it because, again, this to me is the future. Let's play the video.
You can look at a lot of different ways here on how people are using Base, but I want to hear from you, the data. What does it show in terms of how big Base is actually getting for Coinbase?
Yeah, so Coinbase has always been the most trusted and easiest way for people to access crypto. And I think what we're seeing with Base is the same thing is happening. So in Q1, we saw 8 times more developers start to build on Base, and we're seeing really rapid growth of the number of users who are also transacting on Base. And like you mentioned, they're doing all sorts of things, from payments to commerce to music to gaming. We're really seeing the next generation of the internet be built on-chain on Base.
Jesse, give us an idea of what you're seeing in terms of adoption. I understand developers are building on Base right now, but what numbers can you share with us that show that this stuff is actually being adopted by a wider public?
Yeah, so...
And you have to remember this. Base hasn't been around that long. And they're already making $30 million a month. And it's just the beginning. And I think their use case here with Base is going to be very small when, again, you compare it to what, like BlackRock, we know what they're going to do, and Fidelity, and even outside the financial realm. You're going to start seeing, once we get legal clarity, probably your tech giants, build different, applications and layers on blockchain. And it's just going to open up a whole new business arena here for massive growth and scale.
As we reported in Q1 earnings, we're seeing millions of people start to transact on Base. We really still think it's early in the overall adoption, and we're really looking at this similar to the internet era, where over the next few years, we're going to see people go from pretty much doing nothing on-chain to doing more and more of their daily life on-chain every single day.
Jesse,
And that's a great point. For the longest time, crypto's been about theory. These blockchains, they could be used for this. They could be used for that. This is the very beginning. Yeah, most things that are happening on Base, let's be honest, are pretty degenerate. People gambling on, monkey coins or different, goofy stuff. Yeah, that's true, but this is just the very beginning of this. And this is a very real business with even realer cash flows. This is the early days. But this is the start of what I think the future looks like for cryptocurrencies, where you get a business like Coinbase that's able to build out infrastructure, onboard their customers, and make massive cash flow. This, I'm telling you, this is it. And it's not going to stop with Ethereum or Coinbase. It's going to really help these blockchains, onboard real users, not just people that are hodling tokens waiting for the moon, but people that are going to use these services for a practical purpose.
let me ask you a question. So the $64,000 question really is, what changes in the regulatory framework need to be made before Base can issue its own token, its own L2 token that gets to trade, where the users start to be able to generate their own value and keep value by being a user?
And Coinbase
right? So
will
we
make
have
a lot
this
of
whole
money.
crypto ecosystem that's been outside of the regulatory framework. You guys are, well, you're often fighting with the SEC, but you're operating as a listed company with regulatory guardrails. What has to happen?
Yeah, so as we've said from the beginning, we have no plans to issue a token for Base. And I think what we're seeing in the broader regulatory environment in the United States is that it's just too unclear for entrepreneurs. And I talk with builders every single day, and what we're seeing pretty consistently is that builders are having to spend more money on lawyers and regulatory guidance than they are to spend on engineering. And that sort of overhead for startups in a country that has historically been known for innovation is really, really bad. And we think that if we don't get that regulatory clarity that we've been pushing for, we're going to see innovation leave the United States and go over shores.
Right. But I guess we had the Fit 21 bill pass, at least the House. It's not in the Senate yet, but the Senate's going to come with their own view. Would something as important as that then allow you guys to say, hey, because there's a tremendous amount of potential shareholder value, locked up in what you guys are doing, and so.
When we get that regulatory guidance, it's going to change things in such a big way. Because you look at something like Coinbase, Ripple's a great example of this. Like, they have their business, which of course brings in cash flows. They're able to go to the markets and raise money in traditional manner. Ripple does that in the private market. Right now, Coinbase trades on is a publicly traded company, of course. And now you have this third kind of hybrid approach, where you have tokens of the network, and you're also able to sell those onto the market. And we're going to have to see how you do that completely in a legal fashion, but we're getting there. We're getting there quickly, and it's just this totally different paradigm that gives you such a huge advantage. I mean, look at Ripple. They're just a very early stage company, and if it wasn't for XRP, they would be losing money left and right. They would have to keep going, selling off more and more of their equity, but because of XRP, they don't have to. They have this war chest, $1 billion in cash, and they can have more if they want. And you look at all the assets on their books, like, this just changes the game in so many ways.
Absolutely, and we're really excited about the shareholder value that Base is starting to generate. As you've seen, it's starting to generate really significant revenue for the business. I think in terms of the regulatory framework, we've seen progress with Fit 21. We've seen progress with state frameworks like the DUNA in Wyoming, and we're really excited to see that mature. And we're confident that as those frameworks mature, we're going to see more innovation from Base and from the broader on-chain economy.
Hey, Jesse, what about the whole issue around staking with the SEC? If there is a larger question around the staking businesses, what does it mean for Ethereum, and what does it mean for the Ethereum network's potential to really grow in a significant way?
Yeah, so we've been obviously working with the SEC on this for a long time. We do not believe that Ethereum is a security, and I think that the regulatory and the courts are starting to clarify that as well. And so what we're seeing for Ethereum is that it's really the beginning of a global on-chain economy. It's creating a new next generation of the internet that's letting creators, that's letting builders do better than they otherwise would have. And so what we're really pushing for is more regulatory clarity in the United States so that innovation can keep happening and we can keep building this future together.
Jesse, one thing that struck me also is that
You're going to see the same thing within the business sector that we see with traditional crypto investors. Typically, Bitcoin brings you into this space, or maybe Ethereum nowadays, and then you start rolling off to other blockchains that have different strengths, different value propositions, and you're going to see the exact same thing. It's not just going to be Bitcoin and Ethereum. You're going to have some company out there that goes, you know what, Coinbase has Base, but this is their shortcomings with using that architecture. We're going to use XRP, or we're going to use Cardano. And just like you see the everyday crypto investor kind of fan out and get involved in a lot of different blockchains, we're going to see that same thing happen with your institutions that are both building and investing into this space. Because there is no single way to build blockchain. There's always design and a choice. Do you want to be fast? Do you want to be scalable? Do you want your transactions to be cheap? Do you want to offer smart contracts, or maybe have really fast and cheap transactions? Like, you always have to find that design that's going to meet your specific value proposition. And I just think we're going to see an explosion across crypto. People are not really seeing it coming here. They think it's just Bitcoin, just Ethereum, and those two, we know they've got through the door here. Those ETFs are going to trade. Those ones, but there's going to be more. And I think you got to position yourself. So as this starts to fall into the next alt and the next alt and the next alt, that you're ready for that. Because a lot of people, I think, assume that won't happen, and it's going to happen in a big way. You see regulations coming together. It's just a matter of time. It's amazing how far in just a few months we've come here. It was looking dire. It was looking bleak. Like the SEC was just going to continue to attack. And now it's a political liability to do so they have to back off a little bit. And soon we're going to see regulations roll out. And this is going to really, I think, be like the tech sector that just goes on this very long growth curve that just doesn't stop. There will always be pullbacks. There will always be downtimes. But in general, it's just going to trend up in a big, big way.
You have the exchange itself, but when you look at Base, beyond the ability for people to build on it, how does it make money at the end of the day?
Fees.
Does it add any financial value to Coinbase? And does it charge anything of the people who are using it or plan to?
So the really powerful thing about Base is that it's a new technology platform. And kind of like the internet transformed the world in the early 2000s, we expect Base and other chains to transform the world in the 2020s and bring about the new on-chain era. And the way that happens is by making it faster and cheaper and easier for everyone to build new things. And when people build those new things, we're going to see an incredible wave of new applications that users are going to use and that they're going to pay for. And Base is the application platform, kind of like AWS, that enables that. So as more applications are built, Base is going to generate more revenue. And as more applications are built, Coinbase is going to be the front door that lets users access those applications. And that combination, kind of both being the platform and being the front door, is incredibly valuable. And it's something that we think is going to generate a massive amount of value for our customers and a massive amount of value for the business in the next few years.
Jesse, what would you say to some?
And what he's not saying is this. They have to do this. What happens in the security market? There's no more fees for trading, right? Like, they're going to have to figure out how to leverage their power as that gateway, is that leading U.S. crypto exchange. How do we monetize this in other ways? Because they're not going to be able to milk you out of fees for much longer. They're not going to be able to trade against you as they do now. And so this is another way where they can tack this on to their current platform. And as those platform fees, trend to zero, their base fees should grow at a higher rate to offset that. That's exactly why they want you trading on Base instead of just on Coinbase. At least one of the few reasons.
Somebody who's watching right now saying, wait a second, if we're talking about this being built on Coinbase's ecosystem, I'm kind of getting flashbacks to the 90s era of this walled garden of AOL and the idea that Coinbase could be the owner of this platform, and that would concern some folks. What would you say to critics out there who say, you know what, I want this to be actually more open and I want to build on something not associated with any company?
Yeah, well, I think this is one really important thing about Base. Coinbase is incubating Base, but Base is an open, global, on-chain economy that's going to increase innovation, creativity, and freedom. And the only way that happens is if Base is decentralized. That's why we built Base as an Ethereum Layer 2, so that we can inherit the decentralization of Ethereum. And that's why, from the beginning, we've been incredibly dedicated and committed to making Base as a technology platform decentralized. And so what we're seeing is that hundreds of thousands of users tens of thousands of builders all around the world are recognizing that decentralization and choosing to make Base their home because they believe that they want to be a part of the biggest economy that's going to ever be built.
But Jesse, isn't that kind of a half step until you guys can launch a token? Because when you launch a token, it really can be decentralized. But until then, it's not really decentralized.
There's a couple different components of decentralization. On the technical decentralization front, we're making really great progress. Base started as what is called a stage 0 rollup, which is a kind of an early stage of decentralization, but we're in.
Mike Novogratz. He really wants a Coinbase token, this guy. He probably wants to buy them before everyone else, very cheap. I'm not sure they need a token, to be honest with you. They have their layer 2 out there. People use it. They get fees. That fee revenue is growing. Like, what value? I would say issue a token if it's going to add value of some kind. But in this case, I'm not really sure why you would even need a token for this. And, again, if it's not going to add value to Base, if it's not going to give you any extra functionality in the network, I just, in this case, don't think you need a token. You have Base, you can trade on it, you can do everything you need. And, again, they get paid a lot of fees. And so this specific case, I'm not sure a token is even warranted.
Process and very close to moving to being a stage 1 rollup. And what that means is we're going to have a really strong level of decentralization that gives guarantees around censorship resistance, give guarantees around having an open platform for builders that let them actually build with confidence. And so that's what we're most focused on. We're focused on making the technology decentralized so everyone can build on Base and know that it's going to be there forever and they're going to have the same access to it forever as well.
All right, so Base is not horribly or wildly decentralized. Let's be honest about that. But what, again, excites me so much about this is the success that Coinbase has had. And I know other players out there are looking at this saying, you know what, we can do that. We could even do it bigger. And I think that's what's going to bring a lot more people to blockchain as institutions and builders. They say, you know what, there's an actual business here to be had. And we don't have to launch even a token to do so. We just attach to that layer 1, whichever layer 1 you want to. And, we can have our own frameworks and rules on that side chain and, really build a sustainable business is what we see going on here. So I think this really will spur a lot more building. It will help once we get regulations in the United States. Then you'll see the big players, your BlackRocks and stuff, descend on this. And again, for the trade of stocks and securities, I really think those eventually will be tokenized. They probably won't trade on an L1 because you're going to need to be able to freeze and claw back and all sorts of stuff. They'll need their own parameters. But it will trade on an ancillary blockchain, some sort of layer 2, some sort of side chain. And it'll probably link up with, again, it might be an Ethereum, might be an XRP, a Cardano, a Polkadot. There's a lot of great blockchains out there. And I think we'll see people play around with this, and the best will win out. The ones that give you those feature sets, that security, that reliability, that eventually will be our winners here. Let me know what you think down below. As always, please like, please subscribe. The revolution will be televised right here on Jungle Link.